Hello, Sangha. Today is Thursday, July 13th, 2017. So, we read in the precepts, the following. Self-nature is subtle and mysterious in the realm of the ungilded Dharma. Not creating a veneer of attachment is called the precept of not misusing sexuality. The three wheels are pure and clear. When you have nothing to desire, you follow the way of all Buddhas, treating all beings with respect and dignity. I vow to take up the way of not misusing sexuality. Now, this precept comes to mind for me today as I'm thinking about what would be a good topic for us to talk about in this Abbots address because, well, the precepts are in my mind because we've got a number of Jakai initiates that are, next week I think it is, going to be doing their vow writing experience, which is substantial. And that's in our community where people actually wrestle with these vows and come to some understanding of how they would articulate it for themselves and their understanding. And we ask them to do this publicly, at least publicly to the teachers, to myself and Reverend Doan, but also to each other as a cohort for Jakai. So this is an intense process. And it's also in my mind because of late there's been a number of scandals that go on. Now these are not really that new. They might be new to some of us, but they resurface once in a while, and I think it's a good thing that they do because they serve as a reminder. In fact, just 2 days ago, I think it was, the one about Sogyal Rinpoche in the Tibetan line came up, and this is a case of a teacher who clearly was objectifying women, clearly making them objects of desire and not seeing them as people, forget respect or dignity, and misused it greatly. And here's a Tibetan leader with many thousands of followers with great power in a tradition that has a culture of guru worship, and let's be clear, there is a healthy version of that, but this is nowhere close. And this is where typically it's the young female disciples are kind of selected and called and given special access to the master, and it's the worst thing you could think of, one of them. And it's it might confound one. Well, how could this be the case if you have this enlightened, supposedly teacher, or in the Tibetan tradition, a scholar, let's say, of the tradition, of the lineage? But he's not the only one. I mean, there's Richard Baker Roshi in the Soto line, who I've met and have had nice conversations with. Also Dennis Lingwood from the Triratna. There's one for you. That's spooky and creepy. Shimano, Edo Shimano, Suzaki, both from the Rinzai lineage. Genpo Roshi from the Soto. I mean, it's just, this happens. So this is abuse of power from the teachers. But in this case, what I'm emphasizing is that it's centering around the objectification of women, and particularly in terms of the sexuality piece. Now, it doesn't have to just be women. It can be the objectification of anyone, all right? And what the basic thing that's happening here is that we tend to look at this other person, which is a person, and instead of seeing them as a person, we see them as an object for our own gratification. And this is completely unacceptable and does great harm, not only to the victim of this, but also to the whole culture in which this thing happens. Now, unfortunately, our culture, specifically the marketing and advertising culture of early 21st century America, is just stuffed to the gills with this. I can say for sure that myself as a heterosexual guy, I mean, my anatomical reality is I'm male, and my inner feeling is I'm a guy, and the way I show up in the world is a guy, and all those things line up fine. And there are triggers pretty much unavoidably throughout the day. Ads, billboards. It's inserted in advertising all the time. Listen to the radio. The web, there you go, scanning through, and different ads show up in the feeds of the various social platforms and so on. And so it's pulling on the mind, at least I'll say mine, all the time. So taking this person, and they're not a person, they're an object. And in this case, they're an object that's sparkly and attractive, and it's dangling a product to get me to, pull out the wallet and buy the thing. So it's very important for us as practitioners of the Bodhisattva path, as Zen practitioners, to see through this harmful conditioning of objectifying other people. Okay, people are people. People are not objects for our gratification. It's a simple message, but it's a really important one. And I point out all these teachers making these mistakes because this mistake can happen anywhere along the line. And everywhere along the line, it's clearly a mistake. And it shows up lots of ways. The pornography culture, the use of sexuality to sell and entice and buy, get you to buy things. And it can get inside the mind, and it can actually change the way you perceive people. Even if you're not someone who's going to go to the most extreme and physically manifest these things in some illegal way or anything like that, but still it affects how you perceive the world when you encounter it. It affects how you perceive other people. And this itself is violent. This itself is damaging, and it doesn't just damage the person you see that you make an object of, but it harms you, the one who sees it that way, because you are not seeing reality as it is. You're deeply hooked into your delusion. And where that's the case, suffering is always the result. So in this particular precept of not misusing sexuality, let's not just glance past that one and say, oh, I'm not having affairs, or I'm not raping anybody, or I'm not, oh, fine, this doesn't apply to me. Be careful. Think about it more carefully. Just the way you perceive the world. Make sure that you're not turning people into objects. Self-nature is subtle and mysterious. In the realm of the ungilded Dharma, not creating a veneer of attachment is called the precept of not misusing sexuality. The three wheels are pure and clear. When you have nothing to desire, you follow the way of all Buddhas. Treat all beings with respect and with dignity. Don't treat them as objects for your desire fulfillment. Treat them as people. Treat you as a person. Vow to take up the way of not misusing sexuality. Announcements. There's so much going on, it's hard to even know what to announce. Just that there's a lot happening. I really hope that everyone who's watching this is plugged into the Sangha email list so you get those updates. There's an incredibly active Facebook page that's the public one where things are published. There's also the closed community Facebook group. I hope you're a part of that. Stay in touch, keep connected, take your practice to the next level. And let's all be careful and pay attention. How are we perceiving the world? How are we seeing other beings? And notice how your culture and society, your marketing and advertising folks are spending a lot of money, time, and intelligence turning us all into people that objectify others for our own pleasure. Let's break through it.